Good morning, everyone. We will call the meeting to order at 9:03. And I am going to ask for an amendment to this agenda. After our discussion number 6, I would like to add in Mr. Doan, who's here about an easement on Button Ball Road that has to be discussed by the Board of Selectmen. So could I have a motion to amend the agenda and add Mr. Doan?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Any discussion on that? If I could have a vote. All those in favor of amending?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you very much. Happy Tuesday, everybody. All right. We are here at Town Hall. We have Selectwoman Reed, First Selectman Jim Lampos, and First Selectwoman Martha Shoemaker at the table. We also have some visitors. Mr. Foliano is here from Affordable Housing. We have Mr. Utama here from Open Space. We have Mr. Carey here, who's our Town Council. We have Peter Lucchese here from Senior Center Board. We have Mr. Doan here from Doan Engineering? All right. And we have Tom Meyer, who's our technical IT guru, who's going to make sure this meeting goes well. So first thing on the item is some information items, just to keep you up to date on things that I've heard. Mr. Folland had contacted me about a ethics committee, ethics commission ombudsman. We currently do not have one, and we are supposed to. So I contacted Jane Cable and the attorney that represents the ethics commission, and they are going to search for one.
Okay, good. And
get that going. Mr. Folland also mentioned that we had computer errors for appointments this year. He said multiple. There were only 2. There were only 2 applications that did not come through correctly. Mr. Meyer did some searching for me. We could not find any record of one coming in at all in the receiving end, but we accepted both of those applications, and hopefully next year it'll even go smoother. I also heard from Harry Gow, who lives down on Sea Lane, and about some marshland flooding. This is a problem that's been going on for years. In 2020, it was corrected with some help from DEEP and the town, and I was down there this weekend and also looked at it. A piece of a pipe has fallen apart, and I guess we were the ones who put it in, so I guess we're going to put it back. Flood and Erosion also had their first meeting. Flood and Erosion Control Board had their first meeting last Thursday. This was an informational session only. Provided them with some handouts, the POCD, and they set their meeting dates, and those will be coming out in the near future this week. I also met with Aaron McBride, who is one of the reps from Senator Murphy's office, and I do have a Zoom meeting with Senator Murphy in Blumenthal on Thursday regarding congressional direct spending. If either of you want to attend, I can send you a link.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. So we have approval of minutes. Our first minutes up are February 5th, and I do have some corrections myself on those, so if I could have a motion to accept, then we can go through the corrections.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jude. All right, discussion on these. The first page under information items, communications and correspondences, Harry Gow, it says Harry Dow, Gow, G-O-U-G-H, and I have this all saved for you. Suzanne. Also on page 2, I noticed under Open Space Commission, Russell Lindenman really should be Linderman, and that is a correction that needs to be made. And on page 3, I note 5 misspellings. One is the word nay under Planning Commission, N-E-Y, it should be N-A-Y. Under Shoreline Gateway, it's Mark Griswold, not Russell. Under Historic District, it's Julie Malloy with an A instead of an O. Under Inland Wetlands, it should be Tom Macknick, not Akins. And under Tree Commission, it should be Peter Edmondson, not Edmonton. And that, one more thing on page 4, under number 10, third paragraph, would like to see a streetlight on Smith Neck Road. Who feels it was there before, not just feels it was there before. Those are my corrections. Anyone else have any others?
I have on page 3 at the top of the page under Planning Commission, I made a motion to accept the appointments Gaudio, Kerr, and Zarnecki, which was never seconded or passed, but I'd like it noted that I nominated those 3 people.
Okay, we can pull that from the recording and make sure that we get it right, Jude.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else, Jude?
I have nothing else. Thank you.
Okay. So,
I have one question.
Yep.
No, this is for discussion after. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. So, hearing no more discussion on the minutes or changes, can we take a vote? All those in favor of accepting the minutes as amended, please say aye.
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 Any nays? Any abstentions? We're good to go. Also, there was a short one. I think, Jim, you have my only copy, but there was a short minutes of February 12th, which was a special meeting between the Board of Selectmen and the Salary Committee from the Board of Finance, and we met on the 12th for about 2 hours to discuss the salary study. We made 2 motions, and do you have any corrections to those?
No.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept those?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jude. No further discussion. Let's call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. Motion passes. The next item on our agenda is a discussion with Mr. Fatoma and Mr. Foliano. We also have Mr. Carey here if there's any questions from legal so that he's here.
Have we revised the agenda? We skipped public comment?
I'm sorry. I'll go back. I'm so sorry. I was going too fast. Is there any public comment? Please come forward, Casey. And have a seat right here, and there's a nice mic right there, too. That's on.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Peter Lucchese, and I'm the member of the Lime Senior Center Board of Directors and chair of that board. And we have some concerns. It's regarding the proposed renovation project of the center. There are a number of concerns and some unaddressed needs that need to be discussed. We were not allowed to discuss them at the last meeting of the building committee here in Town Hall. One of the main items is there are some items in the kitchen that need updating. I was asked in December by Tim Griswold to look at a leak in the kitchen. I mean, he knows of my extensive commercial background, construction experience. Been a real estate broker, 60 years now this year, and 25 of those years I've owned a construction company who specialized strictly in commercial institutional renovation work. We've renovated well over 2 million square feet of space. So he gave me the proposal. It was about $3,200. Tim thought it was excessive. So I went to the center. I climbed the ladder into the attic. I saw where the source was coming from, and I believe it probably could have come in a little less, although moving equipment around in order to remove the tray, there's a pan under the unit in the attic, and apparently that pan cracked, causing water to come down and leaking right on the food preparation table. So in light of all of the equipment that might have been moved, that might be a reasonable bid, but I think we should get another one. So while I was there, I introduced myself to the kitchen manager, Carol Diffley, and I asked Carol if she had any concerns or any questions about running the kitchen, and she said she did, and she thanked me. She said that she was never asked by anyone if she had any concerns, which I was a little surprised.
Excuse me, Peter. She's not a town employee, correct? She manages the Shoreline Soup Kitchen Meals on Wheels program?
Yes.
Okay.
She works under the direction of the estuary in Saybrook.
Right. Okay.
So I asked her what their concerns were, and she said that presently they can feed 25 to 30 people comfortably. Over that, it becomes very stressful on the staff. With the anticipated increase in membership, but I think we're the best kept secret in the area, the senior center. And she said that there are some items that need updating, and we went over them, and it's basically either a larger dishwasher or an additional one. The steamer, she needs a larger one or an additional one because they mostly heat up the food that's made and prepared at the estuary in Saybrook. So those two items, there's a stainless steel preparation table, a prep table that doesn't have a back on it, and rather than get a new one, we looked at it and thought that we could possibly just have a stainless steel panel tack welded on the back of it, because there's debris going into the utensils and everything. So I had made an appointment with Aaron Fratt. Aaron runs the estuary in Saybrook. He's a manager with extensive background in food handling and preparation. Aaron met with myself, with Carol, and Stephanie Gould, the Senior Center Director, and he looked at everything and concurred that, yes, this is what we should have. Initial pricing for everything was approximately $70,000 to $80,000. When
Peter, that sounds like a lot for a leak, a dishwasher, and a steamer, and the backing for a prep table. Can you tell us what else might be included in that 70?
There's some, well, the commercial equipment is extremely expensive.
Okay.
Very expensive. There's plumbing and electrical work that's involved.
Okay,
and the way it's set up right now, it can't handle any additional equipment.
Got it.
It's probably going to entail bringing in an additional electrical panel because they run all by electric. There are a couple of drains that need to be revised. That's all, and so they can properly work. So there's some plumbing work involved too.
Got it. Thank you.
Sorry, Peter, does that include the drip pan?
That would include the drip pan. Yes, it would. And so at one of the, and this was in December, at a regular board meeting, I asked our board members to go to the kitchen and kind of show them what we're talking about, and the building chair just shut it right down. I was a chair at the time, the former chair, just refused to even listen to it. And we were never able to even submit it and discuss it with the chair of the billing committee, which I kind of find problematic because the kitchen is one of the heart of the center activities. People go there for socialization, they go there for meals, activities, especially today. There's a term called aging in place, and which means the seniors, we're trying to keep seniors, and not me, but the country, trying to keep seniors at home. Even though I am well into my seniorhood, try to keep them at home rather than put them in nursing homes and institutions. I sent our board a legislative session topic last week to discuss, and from Hartford. The first item is aging in place. One of our board members, Mariette McCourt, is a nurse. She has 2 clients that she's been helping to remain in home for the past 10 years. So and she's going to be a great source of information. So hearing that and knowing that when the center renovation is completed, we're definitely anticipating an increase in membership. So that kitchen is definitely important. There are some other items, unaddressed items. Rather than discuss it now, I called a special meeting this Thursday so that all of the members of the board can come in, discuss it, and then I'll compile everything, submit them to the building committee, the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, so at least they can have the issues in front of them, and then the town could decide how they want to do it, what they want to do. But at least we're putting it on the table, not only for transparency. Again, the goal is to build a quality center that we can all enjoy. And that's really the bottom line.
So these are over and above the scope of work that has been out to bid?
Correct.
Okay,
correct.
Just clarifying.
And my understanding is, and the chair of the building committee said it was never part of the drawings or consideration. It was. I'm only on the board for 2 years, so this is before my time. I really,
Okay.
so I was trying to do a catch up at that point, trying to find what our needs are.
Peter, I don't normally comment during public comment because by Robert's rules we're not supposed to, but anyway, I just want to say that these items have been brought up and were mentioned with Stephanie during our budget negotiations. Right. So we are well aware of those items.
I did make a suggestion at that walkthrough that maybe the contingency of the large, the 5.3 million could be used, and shot right down on that. So Stephanie decided that she would consider putting it in her capital budget and then submit it to the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. However, it's decided whether it's decided to fold into the main budget, her line item budget. It's not for for me and Stephanie to decide, but it's up to the town to decide how they want to do it. At least you have that. The other item is, for about a year and 3 months, I've been asking for the chair of the building committee for 4 sheets, 4 drawings out of the large drawings for the senior center renovation, and I've not received them. And the purpose of that was to lay them out on the table. These are full-size drawings, and look at them with the senior board of directors with a scale, because this is what I've done for 25 years. You lay the plans out and you discuss them so we can see exactly what we're talking about. Working with a 8.5 by 11 plan or drawing is just so small you really can't have an understanding. Now, I know we have TV screens, Martha mentioned that to me, which is a good idea, but having more than a couple of people, it's kind of hard to lay out a plan and discuss it. So laying the plan on the table, I think, is a good idea. And if I may make a suggestion, is I would like to suggest that the town request a complete set of drawings with specifications be brought to the town hall, kept in the first select woman's office, and anyone wanting to see them would sign out for them, not to be taken from the town hall. This way, anyone who wants to review them, there's the opportunity to review them, and
I believe there's a complete set upstairs in land use.
Right.
Oh, really? Okay.
There has to be for all their permitting, fire, buildings inspector, et cetera. So you may want to stop up first to see Kim, and then maybe we can possibly laserfiche 3-4 copies for you of those drawings. But there should be a full set upstairs.
And I don't know what the policy is. Can people request pages?
I think
Copied, is it?
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, actually print it out.
I
Yeah,
know,
2 by 3 and 30 by
Let's see.
40.
She has a Laserfish machine upstairs.
Many times, the architects and engineers will put the specifications right on the plan. It's not always the case. Sometimes there are booklets. You know, we would get bid
Right.
packages
Yep.
with thick booklets.
But you're talking full-size drawings where
Oh, yeah.
there's a large format copier upstairs. They slide it in, print it out.
Yeah, I don't know that people are going to need copies, but at least...
No, but if you do,
But if you would like a copy, we can
Yeah.
probably get you those
And
4
you know what?
pages.
Right.
It would suffice, well, I like those 4 pages, but having what I'm requesting is the complete bid package consisting of the drawings, the specifications, and the invitation to bid. I'd like to be able to see that.
I believe that's
Not
all,
that-
it's all on the website. It's all on the Senior Center Reno website. That's all there. It's all been uploaded.
Right, but then you'd have to download it or send it to a printer.
you can just take it to Staples or Seal somewhere, or even here, and they'll just make
Yeah,
it.
and I use Seal all the time.
Yeah.
I do use that. A lot of seniors don't have the capability to do that, to download. And it just seems with a $5+ million budget that the architect should be able to supply a complete set of bid plans. And in your business, I'm sure you've looked at plans and you're very familiar.
They're all in my office.
I would
Especially with the kitchen item. I mean, it's
Peter, I would expect if you contact Point One, they would make it available to you.
well, we were told that we by the chair that no one could
Well-
contact them. So that's why I'm making that request for the.
Okay.
So we're going to have some discussions after this, but I need anything else. You and I talked about the plans on last week. We had a phone conversation about the plans.
Right. Yes, we did.
So we can further that.
Okay.
I will be more than happy to be your guide in the sky through this building.
That would be
to find what you need.
wonderful.
But,
Good.
okay, is there anything else you want to say?
Just thank you very much for the
No
opportunity.
problem.
Yeah, oh, yes, there is one other item. I would like to be able to have any board member or anyone from the public ask when they attend the building committee meetings, be able to ask any member of the building committee any question or state a comment. It's heretofore, it's always been only you can ask the committee chair any questions or concerns. But there's one member of the board, possibly the only member, that has any commercial experience, and we'd like to be able to ask that person, questions that we have or concerns, and we haven't been able to do that. So if we can somehow have an agreement where we can do that, that would help us and the public, because a lot of these seniors don't have the capability to use email or computers. That would be very, very helpful.
Okay.
And we'd appreciate that.
Sure.
Noted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
And do you have any questions?
No, we can't ask questions
Oh,
during
okay.
public comment. We-
Well, thank you for the
Clarifying,
consideration.
yes, but informational. Okay. It's time for open space and affordable housing. And I have a mic set up for you, so that whoever wants to be closest to it or move it around. So I'm just going to start this with a little background that Greg and Mike and I have kind of had couple of weekly meetings dealing with this, about 3 of them, that we have met and met with Mr. Carey as well regarding a little issue with the McCullough property, and they're going to give you a brief rundown on what's happening. But I do want you to know that I'm fully aware of what's going on. So who would like to start?
I can start a little bit
Okay.
since we kind of
It started with
this
you.
process. So to put this in perspective, I was on the Open Space Commission when the McCullough property was acquired, but I was not involved with negotiations. But we did vote on the overall package. And the property was under a conservation easement, but there were 2 quote building envelopes which would allow the family to at one point build residences for members. The family members did not seem interested in living on the property, so the McCulloch family and Open Space discussed what might be done with those building envelopes. Dave McCulloch was always interested in affordable housing, wanting that. Open Space is interested in supporting, has always been interested in supporting affordable housing as well. So they came up with a plan to allow those parcels to be developed into affordable housing, and in negotiations with the Nature Conservancy to move them from near the family farm compound to where the existing open space was present. Now, the deal, as I understand it, was extremely complicated. There were a lot of swaps between family members so we could get contiguous parcels together. And at one point, it was decided by the first select person, the open space chair, and the council for open space, that the deal was complicated to the point where they didn't want to memorialize the arrangements to utilize these two building envelopes for affordable housing. So all the details were really kind of verbal agreements, unfortunately. The affordable housing envelopes, the building envelopes, were appraised by Stephen Flanagan, a professional appraiser, at roughly $100,000 per parcel. They were purchased from the McCulloch family at roughly about half that cost, and the monies came from the Open Space Fund. It was my belief that Open Space always contemplated getting that money back should the parcels be developed as affordable housing. If that aim was not pursued, the property would then divert to basically being open space. Again, all this was done roughly around 2019, before there was Affordable Housing Commission, so we didn't have the opportunity to really consult with a gentleman like Michael on this. And affordable housing was a goal, but there wasn't really an infrastructure to advocate for that. So that's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
And then we just a quick aside, Open Space, again, has always been supportive of trying to get affordable housing in our house, and I think we actually paid for some of the investigation to determine whether that was a practical avenue to consider. We paid for a surveyor, I think Tom Metcalf, and yep.
Can I ask just for clarification? So the properties were originally, the ones that were designated were either on the fringe or next to the family housing area.
Yes.
And it was then moved outside of it at a different distance? Is it on a different...
Yeah, they were moved... there was a lot of negotiation about where those properties would be placed, apart from in the family complex. At one point, I think it was contemplated to put them with frontage on Flat Rock Road, but that would basically, I think, severely limit how much access open space would have for the public to get to the property from that. So they were placed a little bit inland along an existing roadway and contiguous, more or less, to existing affordable housing homes. Okay,
and when you say roadway, a town-owned roadway?
No, it's
or a private road?
Yeah.
It's a 50-foot right-of-way over the open space.
Okay.
That currently serves the two existing affordable homes that are at 95-1, and I forget that.
Right.
They're stacked.
But it wasn't a right-of-way with the family. It's with open space. Okay. Thank you.
It's good for town-owned property.
Yep.
You want?
So I can pick it up from there because you ended right where we began. So I'll pick up in July of 2020. At the time, there was the Affordable Housing Exploratory Committee, which was the first one-year limited duration committee that just was looking into into affordable housing for the town and was the predecessor to the current Affordable Housing Commission. I also chaired that committee. So in July of 2020, there was a presentation made to the exploratory committee to inform them about this opportunity, the existence of the building envelopes, and the wishes of both the Open Space Commission and David McCulloch to use that for affordable housing. And at the same time, it was communicated that, and we've been working on this understanding since 2020, it was communicated that the use of those envelopes for affordable housing was subject to a 5-year option that expired in September of 2024. After which, if it was not exercised, the building envelopes would revert to being a permanent part of the open space. It was also communicated to us that exercising the option would entail a $50,000 reimbursement for each of the 2 building envelopes, for a total of $100,000 to the Open Space Acquisition Fund.
Okay.
So that
was it.
So that's been settled.
Actually, listen,
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Okay.
That would be a direct, exact reimbursement of the fund.
Right.
For what we paid.
So since then, we've been working under that understanding. In October 22, fast forward to October 2022, the Affordable Housing Commission was fortunate to be awarded a $150,000 ARPA Community Initiative Grant to partially offset the costs of the project to develop 2 affordable homes. In 2023, I'm assuming through about 3 years of history, about 3 minutes here, so stop me.
That's okay.
In June of 2023, the former Board of Selectmen voted to enter into a partnership with Habitat for Humanity of Eastern Connecticut to actually develop the housing.
Right.
Planning for that partnership, and that was following an exploration of various approaches to actually take advantage of this opportunity. Planning for that partnership went forward based on the understanding that the ARPA grant could be used excuse me, to purchase the building envelopes and be used to reimburse the Open Space Fund. $100,000 of the $150,000, which would be $50,000 to offset the rest of the project. Fast forward another 6 months. In January, and we laid out a partnership with Habitat for Humanity, as you heard. And we were aiming to go to the town to approve transferring ownership of the 2 envelopes at the town meeting in January 2024, the annual town meeting. So as part of the final preparation of the presentation to the town, the documents for that, and review of that proposal, it was determined based on current Treasury rules that the ARPA grant could not be used to reimburse the Open Space Fund. That triggered a more in-depth review of the documents associated with the original acquisition of the open space by the town. And that review revealed that the open space, the 300 acres plus or minus of open space that was acquired in 2019, was purchased as a single parcel for $600,000, which is equivalent to $2,000 an acre, and that there were no terms in the agreement for the purchase that specified a 5-year option or any reimbursement of the Open Space Fund in any form or in any amount if the building envelopes were subsequently sold.
If the what were sold?
If the building envelopes were sold under the option, there was nothing in the agreement or any of the associated documents that specified that there was an option that expired or that there was any set price of any amount or in any form for open space.
Again, clarification. So because it was a family conversation and a conversation that was ongoing with people from town or committees. Nothing was documented. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and it was not part of the agreement. So there's nothing.
There you go.
So there was nothing in writing.
Right. So
And I agree
purely
on that.
whatever anyone remembers.
So, again, it's my position here to advocate for open space.
Right.
And doing that with the provision that we also were very supportive of affordable housing. And I think that all the parties had been clear from the initial announcement of the agreement that these envelopes were going to, we hope envelopes were intended for affordable housing, but if they were not used for affordable housing, they'd revert to the open space. The 5-year plan and the reimbursement to the fund were included basically on every public issuance that we did, the press releases, in the appearances before all the various boards, and at the town meeting when this acquisition was approved, and then subsequent to that.
Can I ask another question? Would the Open Space Commission have purchased it anyway without any intention of putting affordable housing there or separating the envelopes?
I don't know that I can answer that question because I don't know the motivation of the parties involved. I was not directly involved at that point.
And it was also a town vote, town meeting vote, so people in the audience thought that it was going to, part of it would go to affordable housing, certainly.
So just to go back, though, that's an interesting question because as has been alluded to in our discussions, the cost for these two parcels was well above what we paid for the rest of the land.
Exactly. Would the deal have happened without
if I were looking at it
$100,000?
today, I don't know that I would pay for that unless we had something in writing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd like to just interject here, and Mike, correct me if I get any of this wrong, please. There is no evidence that those parcels were purchased at any price other than the full package, which was $2,000 an acre. And I'm going to respectfully extend the conversation about the appraisals, because based on the notes that I saw, and I have not seen any appraisals, any formal appraisals from either of the two appraisers that were apparently engaged. This is based on notes that Greg provided to all of us.
So, excuse me, so I can show you a Flanagan appraisal that those lots were appraised at 98 base.
Okay, good.
And I would expect...
Was there also, according to the notes that you provided us with, those same parcels were also appraised as part of the open space, as part of the 300 acres at $1,300 an acre and $1,700 an acre in the Flanagan and the one other appraisal. And then apparently there was a separate appraisal looking at the lots as standalone market rate building lots that had it. So I don't know how much it's going to serve us to get into the level of detail, but I can tell you this, just to kind of conclude where we're at from the affordable housing perspective. The building envelopes continue to exist. They do exist as part of the conservation restriction, and there is the opportunity to develop affordable housing on those two building envelopes remains. The town still has a $150,000 grant to partially offset the cost of developing that.
How does it offset it if you're not allowed to use it for the purchase?
The cost of
engineering,
site work, and the construction is going to far exceed $150,000. So those funds will be more than consumed just for the construction. So where we're sitting, at least again from my perspective and looking at it from the advocacy standpoint for affordable housing, is that in light of the recent findings, the town is going to need to find another way to transfer the land, which amounts to 5% of the open space that was purchased. to Habitat for Humanity, effectively as a donation, because that's what would have happened if the grant, we would move forward with the partnership with the understanding that the grant could be used to do whatever purchase costs or reimbursement costs were necessary for it. We were bound to. We're not bound to any, but under that scenario where we could use the grant, the land, in effect, was going to be given to Habitat for Humanity because they would not be responsible for raising any funds to...
No, but the consideration for them getting the land was going to be them
Right.
doing the affordable housing project.
Yeah.
They were going to build the houses, and they were going to administer them as open space
Exactly.
And-
affordable housing units going forward.
How does open space get compensated for their 100,000?
So,
Was there 100,000? And that is...
so this is where we get into
Right.
what I want to
Where are we now?
What I want to refer
One
to.
last note, even whether or not there's a 5-year expiration on the option, we do have a contractual end to the grant in December of 2026, and we need that time. So time remains of the essence to resolve this.
So,
I think the other thing, I apologize, but I think
okay.
the other thing, Greg, tell me if I'm wrong, Greg has explored numerous options for making this deal work, for getting those 2 houses built. And I think one thing that's become clear, as I understand it, is if the Affordable Housing Commission has to find $100,000 to reimburse the open space fund, those houses are not going to be built. Is that about right? Or close to it?
It's certainly going to present a very high bar. I think it would be unreasonable to go to Habitat for Humanity, they are a not-for-profit organization. Their sole mission is to create affordable housing. They depend on donations of land, and they depend on donations of materials and labor to actually make these homes affordable, because they are sold at a cost that is less than what it takes to build them. So to go to Habitat for Humanity or any of the other not-for-profits that we're going to depend on to develop these affordable homes on this or any other project we do, and ask them to raise cash that is going to be essentially diverted to go to open space is off their mission, and I don't think it would be reasonable to ask those organizations to do it.
okay, so,
Let me just make a quick response here.
okay,
I feel, no disrespect to you, but I feel a little bit that Michael has Mr. Carey advising him. Rich Cody was working with us, and I do not have Mr. Cody here, who would be much more familiar with the details of the negotiations than I was. But in any event, I think it's indisputable that this property was bought with funds from the Open Space Fund. Now, I'm not an attorney. I can't make an opinion on this, but in my reading, it's pretty clear that that is a restricted fund for open space. It says nothing about those funds being used to subsidize housing. So whether we're talking about what a smaller amount, as Michael suggested, or $100,000, in any event, monies were taken from that fund for a purpose other than for open space acquisition, which is why I am promoting some type of reimbursement.
okay, so, if I could just say, first of all, whether it's open space money or affordable housing money, it's taxpayers' money. Because all the money into open space has been granted into their fund through the budget. We agreement on that?
Well, it's ARPA money that was granted.
No, just open space. Our contributions to
Yeah.
open space over the years have been...
Unless they've done their own fundraising as well.
We have not.
Okay.
All right, so, and you have presently about $600,000
Right.
in their account, right at the
Exactly.
moment. Last year during the budget, so basically what I do is, this is like a shuffling of accounts, because it's our money, it's town money, it's credited to you. You spent some, you need some, you don't have any in your budget for this type of thing, except for the ARPA funds, which we cannot use because both lawyers agree can't be used.
Understood.
So, last year during the Board of Finance meetings, when we went to put money into the open space account, I believe
Which we do every year.
Yeah, Mr. Kelsey said, you know, if they wanted more, they could always come back and ask for an appropriation if they needed on a particular deal.
If they were going to make a new land purchase.
Right.
And what you had was not enough to complete the purchase, then it would come to Board of Finance and then go to the town for approval.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Excuse me, Martha, but it's essentially, that's exactly correct. So there are a number of properties we're looking at right now.
Right.
That they have hefty prices.
Exactly.
Once in a lifetime properties.
Right.
Because of the real estate market.
Understood.
And so we're looking at them, and obviously all the capacity that we have will help us. So even if we were to shoot for an environmental protection grant, which we would certainly try to do so, that would just provide us with 60% of the acquisition price, and the town would have to support the rest of it. So I'm concerned that we not be handicapped in that. And in a very rough manner of speaking, we're talking about the same situation that we would originally with affordable housing back then, where Martha mentioned that the chair of finance said that he would support us. He's no longer the chair.
Right, but it was also in a new acquisition. So what we're talking about now is something that's, to me, sort of in limbo. The taxpayers made their decision. I'm not siding here with anyone. I'm just saying how I see it.
We're summarizing.
Right, that the people in town, the taxpayers, approved this deal based on using the ARPA money. Now, if you're talking about shuffling money, if we're going to shuffle money, I think it needs town approval.
Oh, no, I totally understand.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Also,
And town may-
the ARPA funds were not in play when the original acquisition was. The ARPA money was not.
It wasn't.
When the 300 acres were purchased, correct?
The ARPA money was not there.
Right.
The ARPA money didn't come in until 2022.
Right, but with the approval of the two envelopes for building, the public may have understood that open space would be reimbursed the $100,000 from the ARPA funds, correct?
No.
No?
The ARPA funds are somewhat irrelevant, Judy.
Okay.
We would be reimbursed in some fashion. And the ARPA funds subsequent to that were considered as one
So then why is...
avenue reimbursement.
Because nowhere, first of all, in the grant from open space, the grant request, it does not say purchase of land.
From open space?
No,
No.
the ARPA application and grant is only for hard physical costs.
No, I know that, but in conversations prior to finding this out, why is it an issue now if the conversation didn't take place that we were going to use some of these ARPA funds to reimburse?
Because when we went to do the transfer of land, which we would have presented in
Right.
January to the town.
But we didn't present it to the town as a problem, correct? I mean...
Well, we didn't do it because Mike had found the glitch.
Okay.
That we couldn't transfer it because with the ARPA funding.
Did the townsfolk understand that the ARPA money was not at play in reimbursing?
This hasn't been brought to the town.
Okay.
Hasn't been
The
brought
town
to the
meeting
town.
approved the transaction to purchase the property.
Right.
It was 2019.
The 300...
COVID was still in the lab.
Okay. No, I
Wherever it
understood
was.
that.
So ARPA didn't exist.
But-
And the motion that was approved by the town meeting did not say anything, did not break out the purchase price between $200,000 and $100,000. It was $300,000 for the
Correct.
purchase.
Understood.
As I understand it, a member of Ms. Blair, I think, at least publicized this idea that there would be some reimbursement if the lots were ever developed for affordable housing.
Okay, that's where I'm
But
at.
that was not part of the motion that the town meeting approved, and it was not part of the contract for the purchase of the property, it was not part of the deed.
It was part of the presentation.
Then,
Understood.
understood.
Excuse me, I would go beyond that. It was not just the open space chair. I'm pretty confident that even in press releases sent out by the first selectman's office, it was contemplated that there would be affordable housing and a reimbursement.
Correct. That's where my mind is at. From the beginning, whether it was approved or not, the perception was by the people in town, whether we voted on it or not, that yes, those two envelopes would be used for affordable housing and open space would be reimbursed.
That was
Whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, that was a perception.
Beyond legal standing, that was the public message throughout everything, including...
Everybody was going to benefit. Open space, affordable housing, open space would be reimbursed, everybody was going to be happy, and now the perception is not what we thought it is.
That's right.
That's what I'm trying to make clear.
So, do you have a solution?
I don't know if if we are going to have to go back and change the perception. How it's going to be viewed now is, what do you mean we have to pay for it? That's how it's going to come across. Open space has already paid for it.
Right.
So the deal on the table to me is somehow affordable housing has to reimburse open space. Legally, they do not have to. If there's, If there's a gap there, where's that money going to come from? And that's going to have to go to a town vote because it's over $20,000. And it's going to have to happen rather quickly because we have a time problem here, or a deadline.
Well, I suspect that town meeting is going to be hard put to understand why it should appropriate
Exactly.
dollars when it thinks it already did.
Exactly. That's my concern.
It's mine as well, but
It's not insurmountable, but I think that's the challenge.
We will lose the affordable housing deal. We will not have it if that's what happens. I think it's very important that we do everything in our power to make this happen. Mr. Lampos, you've been very quiet. Do you have anything to say about this? I'm sure you do.
Well, just to clarify, when Open Space bought the parcel, the McCullough parcel, $600,000, the two envelopes were not separated out. Is that correct? They're just part of the bulk purchase. So they weren't set aside at all. Yeah. The set aside was in the understanding in the purchase, at the time of purchase, that they would be set aside, but they weren't technically set aside with any kind of survey.
Yes, there was no legal language to that effect.
Or they're on the
So they
drawing.
were surveyed, so they do exist, the envelopes do exist and have been surveyed, but as part of the conservation restriction.
At the time of purchase? At the time of purchase in 2019?
I believe so.
Yeah.
It's on 4151, which is...
Yeah, they were described, they're described, I believe, in the conservation easement that the McCulloughs gave the Nature Conservancy. And whether they were rejiggered a little for this transaction, I can't remember, but I think they were moved at one point from one location on the property to another, as you already discussed.
But the intention...
I don't think, well, the legal description goes on for 5 pages, so I can't swear.
They're not separately deeded.
No, they're not separately deeded. It's 300 acres.
The intention was in the deed. That they
the deed, no, deed doesn't say anything about developing those parcels one way or the other. The conservation restriction has a couple of sections that take them out and allow them to be used without being subject to the conservation restrictions and to be used for housing purposes.
As I recall, at the top of my head, and I apologize, this may not be accurate, but I recall that the envelopes have a 70% conservation restriction, with the differential being the development of a home.
I don't know where. I don't know that there's anything in there.
It's complicated. There's actually a few acres that are not even covered by conservation easement at all in the overall acquisition. There are a number of different deeds and documents circulating around it, and
So,
The thing is, though, if these parcels are not used for housing, then they remain open space. And so $100,000 was paid for, apparently, paid for a couple of open space parcels.
The date on the map 4151 is January 21st, 2019. That describes the building envelopes in their current location.
And so, Michael, in 2020, it was your understanding that affordable housing would have to pay $100,000 to open space.
That was what was communicated to us, and we didn't challenge it.
So they
And
understood.
so we just worked under that understanding for the last 3 years.
Came through in 2022, and you thought, well, we can use that money, and then it turns out in 2024, we find out we can't.
We cannot.
Okay.
But you did have an intention at that time in 2020. What was your idea as to where that money would come from? The $100,000 for open space. It was just
We did not know, and we applied for the grant.
Well, I have a question
but
too.
was it to buy the land? Was your intention to buy the land?
At the time we applied for the grant, we were pursuing a model that would have the town retain ownership of the land and lease the land to an eventual homeowner. So the grant application specified that the funds were going to be used for planning, site work, and construction. Because at that time, we were working again on an understanding at that time that there was an avenue where the town would not sell the land, they would retain ownership of the land, but enter into a lease to allow it to be used for affordable housing, similar to the way the Hope does it with the other two.
But that's not what we wanted.
The other thing is, if, so the ARPA money cannot be used to reimburse for the land, but you say that, of course, that will be spent for developing the land, site, so on and so forth. How would you have paid for those services if you didn't have the ARPA money? So the funds that you would use, that you're going to use the ARPA money for, why can't that be used, I know it sounds like a simplification, to reimburse open space?
It's a good simple question, and it's a good simple answer to it. There was no money.
Because you were going to have those services done gratis or looking for volunteers?
Yeah, we were going to see if we could get it through philanthropy or grants.
Okay.
The grant came true.
So through philanthropy and grants, can you come up with $100,000?
That would
Take time, I understand.
in great peril.
I have a copy of a memo that was sent by Amanda Blair and Evan Griswold to Martha, Tim, Matt, and to Michael in 2022.
Okay.
Michael had suggested that there be a lease on the property and open space be reversed over time. And a key phrase in there is affordable housing is seeking to have a restricted town fund subsidize its efforts in a fashion not anticipated in the fund's origination. And I think that's kind of been our position.
Let me ask you a question. Can the ARPA funds be used to lease the land?
To pay rent.
To pay rent?
Not acquire the land, but can that money be put, is there a time limit on the expenditure of that ARPA money, though?
It has to be committed by 2026.
Okay,
And
so-
I think it has to be spent by I'd have to go back and look. I think it has to be spent by.
Can you prepay
and then
rent?
And then it returns. Then you have to give it back.
Can we lease land?
I don't want,
Right.
I can think about that. I don't want to,
I know. No, I'm not asking you to have an
end up
answer for
having,
me.
I don't think we're solving this today.
No, we're not solving it. And I think that at some point, though, that Jude and Jim, I think we have to bring the Board of Finance into this conversation as well.
Absolutely.
Because we have as many creative minds working on how to get this moving. There is a Board of Finance meeting on the 27th.
Correct.
The agenda has not been finalized, so we could, BJ will not be here, but Kim is sitting in his chair. I could contact Kim today.
Okay, I am away as well, but,
I'm sorry.
well, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Just warning.
But we can, I think we could ask to have this added to there to bring them up to speed.
Yes, discussion at
If
least.
those gentlemen would be available on the 27th, the meeting starts at 7. I can ask him to make this first on the agenda, so that we can bring them up to speed as well. And then at least we'll have a lot of people working on this and trying to create it. Michael, you can check out the lease situation, and see where it goes from there.
One of the things that at least has been thrown out there was the arithmetic. If these two parcels revert to open space, and the option to develop them for housing goes away, then the parcels, I think, are valued at whatever Mike came up with, about $12K together.
Well, that was simple math.
If you apply,
Well, that's also 5 years ago,
Yeah.
the valuation.
That's Monday
What I'm
morning
saying-
quarterbacking. They were paid, we paid what we paid based on the appraisal done at the time. You could say,
Market value is different, right.
Okay, but we're not here as a town to make a profit
Yeah.
off something, because it's all town money.
And I need to respectfully refute, or at least question, the way the appraisals were done. Because in Amanda's notes, there were 2 appraisals done of the entire open space package,
Yeah.
which included the building envelopes that appraised them at $1,300 and $1,700 per acre, respectively. Apparently, based on the notes, I haven't seen the actual appraisals. Then the 2 building envelopes were separately appraised in the context of...
After the purchase.
No.
No, before the purchase.
In the context of being standalone building
Right,
lots.
so their value
Part of-
changes,
At market rate.
of course.
So, and then in the end, after all was said and done, there were $2,000 an acre paid.
Greg, were
entire
they
town. So-
appraised by Flanagan as affordable housing lots or as
Market rate, based on the notes that I saw.
unrestricted? Which would be some differences.
So I would assert that there's some apples and oranges here that need to be sorted out.
Yes, they do.
But at the end of the day, we're talking about whether it's open space funding or what pot we're putting it in. There's $600,000 of town money, taxpayer money, that went into the acquisition of the McCullough property. And from that broad pot, we're saying open space expected some kind of reimbursement into their pot from the
Correct.
housing.
And I think the people in town did as well.
Okay. So what we're looking for in the end, whether it's from affordable housing or from the town, is some sort of appropriation into open space in lieu of getting these 2 envelopes returned. And it may not be from affordable housing. It could be from the town who decides they're going to move a pot of money.
Right, there is no affordable housing fund
Right.
right. in parallel with...
So the decision is, the money is all the town money. Whether it's in
That's what I'm
our
saying.
left-hand pocket or our right-hand pocket, it's all town money, taxpayer money. So do we, as a town, decide to appropriate money to open space? Because your understanding was that we wouldn't be spending $600,000,
I agree that it's town money, but the part of money that, right, wrong, or indifferent, which was thought to be used to reimburse open space, is now going to be used to spend on something the town did not anticipate spending money on, because affordable housing was going to have resources to come up with the development. You're saying you did not have cash.
No.
So
We had no resources and
Right. So, but the-
no budget, so...
Remember, it was going to be leased.
We applied...
So where will the $150,000 ARPA money be used?
For helping affordable housing projects get off the ground in town, as far as site work planning, permitting, et cetera.
But without that, we would not have had that. Okay.
Yeah, for this
But this
project.
project is still getting the money, but the town is,
Not.
the town could not use that $150,000 for something else that they may have deemed worthy.
Right.
Right.
Okay? That's all I'm saying.
The ARPA grant is earmarked for
Right.
the McCullough project.
But the the real fundamental issue with that is using that money to reimburse that fund would simply be taking the federal money that didn't even exist until 2022 or something like that.
I get it.
Repay a town obligation, so to speak, that was incurred 4 years before, so.
No, I understand that part, but I'm saying there may have been a lot of competition for that $150,000 with other groups in town, and I'm
Right.
not aware of that.
But I will say this, that if we don't use it for affordable housing, we lose.
I totally get it.
So
Totally understand.
we're in the budget process.
So Greg could
Now's
theoretically
the time.
go to the Board of Finance and say, should we have a one-time additional appropriation on top of the 75,000
Okay.
normally get to
So it's
cover this?
finance discussion at this
It
point.
would fall under the budget appropriation.
It really would be an appropriation, in essence, to affordable housing.
You'd have to make the appropriation to affordable housing, so then they can make the transfer to open space, and the transfer of property can take
Because
place.
otherwise,
So we could do
they're
that.
paying $700,000 or whatever.
We could do this
Right.
as part of the regular
I
budget
get it.
process, so we don't have to go to a special.
Possible.
It could be part of it.
Well, no, because Mike's on a timeline, because it can't wait till July 1st. Right?
Yeah,
It can't wait till July 1st, so we'd have to do a special appropriation. Okay, so goal is, I'm going to contact Kim, who's going to be acting chair. We're going to add this to the agenda. We'll be asked to be on the top. We're going to move forward. We're going to find a way. We'll figure it out.
and I think I would respectfully suggest that we need to sort out this, what was actually paid for the two building envelopes.
Okay.
I understand that there were expectations, but
I understand.
the data doesn't necessarily.
Right, but did affordable housing agree to pay it without knowing that? That's my question.
We agreed to it because it was presented to us as a fixed obligation. We didn't have a choice.
They said it was written
It
down
was not presented as a
and
choice.
signed.
Yeah,
There was nothing to
okay.
agree.
My concern is fighting the perception of the town. That's my concern.
I know. We're on it.
And with my advocacy hat on, I would remind us all and the town that 20% of the land area of Old Lyme right now has been acquired as open space. 1.5% of the housing stock in Old Lyme is affordable. The state is breathing down our necks to create affordable housing and threatening to override our local zoning regulations.
We got it.
We don't.
We're on it.
Okay. We agree. We all agree with everything both of you have said. We've just got to come up to a solution that's going to meet both of your needs so that we can all move forward. And that's what we hope to do. We may not have a total solution, but we may have a much better path in a week's time. So continue to put your thinking caps on, all of you. Mike, if you'll get me answers on leasing, we'll see what we can do. Okay? Good? Thank you.
Thank you.
Both for your time.
People need to know sooner than later.
Mr.
That's
Jones,
important.
thank you for your patience. I should have put you first.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jim?
What time is it?
It's, 10. Okay. Is someone there?
Can I make one acknowledgement, and appreciation for the record, to the building committee for all their hard work.
We got to flip it up.
Right there.
I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just tell her.
The woman next to you.
Thank you for your patience.
Thanks, Mike.
No problem.
Thanks, Greg. You gotta, up, sorry. We're just gonna be asking questions.
Okay.
All right, I'll be brief.
It's okay. Now this,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for adding me to your agenda.
so Bob, can you give us a short history of why we're being called in on this one?
A couple of years ago, we subdivided 11 Button Ball Road and created 13 lots. There was an existing house on Button Ball Road, And
Just for a point of reference, is this the small, couple hundred-year-old little white house?
Yes.
Near the end, the last one on the left heading out?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep,
Okay.
Shore Road's right here.
Got it.
And the small house kind of bumps out into Buttonwell Road, and the street line goes around it.
That's how long it's been there.
Yeah.
Oh,
And they had a problem in 2010. They repaired the sanitary system.
Yep.
And they placed the sanitary system on town property on Buttonwell Road.
great.
And it was all known at that time. It was done with the sanitarian, and I went through all the permits. Gary, you did the system.
Yep.
And it was never an issue. And so now we have it as part of the subdivision, and Wendy has
Thank you.
reviewed it and approved the overall subdivision, but she wants or is strongly suggesting that we establish an easement around the sanitary system. If it were before they installed it, the state health department would require an easement before we could put the system here. So we're after the fact now establishing an easement, and that easement would give the homeowner the right to repair, replace, or whatever.
Is this part,
Maintain.
is that house part of the subdivision?
Yes,
This-
it is.
Okay.
It's lot 1 in the subdivision, and that's why that site plan that you have is labeled lot 1 septic plan.
So it's,
The house is going to be torn down?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know, it's rough.
right.
it's in rough shape.
So if the house is being torn down, can you explain more? Will another house be put there?
Yes.
And therefore you want to keep the septic situation the way it is?
We want the option to keep it.
And if it's not granted, you have to work within a smaller land
Well, we have
footprint?
to slide it back, and the entire lot, this is the 100-foot upland review area for the wetlands. We were able to meet the what the code refers to as a B100A analysis. We could do a code compliant system on the property for a 2-bedroom house. It's a 2-bedroom house.
But you don't want a 2-bedroom house there. You want a much larger house to go with the rest of them.
House, yeah.
How large is that lot? I can't tell from here. I'm going to ask you because I think you're faster at it. I mean, for me to decipher all this, and it says proposed lot 1 area 50,000 square feet. It's done under an acre.
0.92?
0.92.
So,
And if we provide you with the easement, does it bring it up to an acre?
Oh, no, the easement stays town property.
Oh,
We're
okay.
not asking for a conveyance.
Okay, all right.
We just want the right to maintain the system and keep the system there.
but the system that's there now, is it adequate for something more than a 2-bedroom?
Well, I would have to go through and do the analysis and see if that's an area where I could do a more effective leaching.
I see a lot of benefit to the homeowner and you. I'm not sure what the benefit to the town is.
Okay.
Okay? That's without knowing more about it.
We have an existing 2-bedroom.
Right.
We have a site on the property. If we tear down the house, put up another 2-bedroom, we have a site on the property for a septic system.
For a 2-bedroom.
Being compliant.
So the easement would be in anticipation that maybe a bigger septic system could be in this town property.
Yeah.
But
And it would need
to keep the existing, we do have to do the existing
keep
footprint.
to keep the existing footprint. Yes. There is an option.
Is this something that's granted by the Selectmen or one of the land use departments? How does this get handled, Martha?
It goes,
And I don't mean to
We have to bless
add,
it. I'm assuming we have to bless it, and then it has to go to
that's what I'm thinking.
the procedure is that we've already gone through planning with the approval of this, and the whole thing was approved by Ledgelight. And
I see that in the,
it's just her letter that's saying that she suggests that we get an easement.
so you went to planning and you have a positive review to move forward?
Yeah, we have an approval for the subdivision.
You know what?
No, not for the subdivision, I just meant for the easement.
Did you go to planning for the easement?
Is it part of the subdivision approval? That's what we're asking.
After the fact.
Then
Okay.
I'm reluctant to give it a blessing without that.
So
I just don't know enough about it.
Which comes first, getting
we're not,
permission to do an easement?
no, I think that I think the three of us just need to do a little homework.
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen
Yeah,
that.
so we want to consult with planning, zoning, inland wetlands, and just make sure that we're all on the same page. I think that we would all feel more
Yeah.
comfortable
Whether-
getting, that they are all aware of this. I mean, you may have to go to one of them as well, but they already gave you some initial agreements and signed off on the plan.
On the
On the
subdivision.
subdivision. So they had in their mind what it was going to look like. They probably may or may not have known about this being town property. So we just need to bring all the players and just circle our wagons, and then we'll get back. We can put you on for the March 5th.
If I had had this ahead of time, I know you were added to the agenda, and I know you spent a lot of
you
time
sent it to me, and I could
in the
have.
room, but for me to make any comment or blessing or rejection on anything, I just need to put my glasses on and read it. Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly.
give us,
And I served as town engineer in Essex,
I know you did.
and the procedure that we typically follow in town and Main Street,
Mm-hmm.
we have so many easements under the
Of course you do.
Main Street, and it goes, we go to obviously through HUD, because we have to determine
Which you've done.
the soil is suitable,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Board of Selectmen.
we do the easement, and we go back to the selectmen, and the selectmen schedule, it has to go through, they felt it had to go through a town meeting, because it's an easement on town property. And then, prior to that town meeting, they refer it to planning and zoning.
Correct.
So that you
Okay.
get a referral letter back
Well,
at the town meeting.
it sounds like you're doing that process,
So
so
that's what we're starting.
thank you. That explains it a little better to me.
sorry, we should have moved you first.
That's all right.
Quick question while we have you here. So that trapezoid that the septic system is currently on, that's town property, right? It's not part of the it's contiguous to the open space of this development, but it's actually town. Town of Old.
No, it's separate from the open space.
It's contiguous.
Our open space, oh yes, it backs up to the open space.
But that's town of Old Lyme.
Yep, this orange
Right here.
line
Yep.
is the town line as it exists. And they went obviously around the existing house.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
2 weeks. Well, yeah, 2
Yeah,
weeks.
our meetings are in 2 weeks, not once
Okay.
a month. That might be helpful.
And that's it.
It
Yeah.
is 5:30, and
I
we'll,
have 2 public hearings that night, but that's okay.
you can call in on Teams.
Oh, okay.
You can be on your phone at one meeting, on your phone with us.
I've done that before, and unfortunately, I gave my Essex presentation. But I got approval.
I'd like to think we'll be paying better attention. If we're not, then maybe we get...
No, I appreciate it. Thanks again for...
So,
It is, and Bob, I'll be in touch. Once we start to get information from the Bears, I'll call you.
Okay.
All right?
so March 4th.
Yep,
March 4th.
it is March
Okay,
4th.
my public hearings are the
5th, so.
Oh, no,
Sorry.
March 4, 5:30.
Okay. Moving on as quickly as we can. This is
Bye, Bob. Thank you.
in what I sent you the other night was a review of the refund,
Right, the
Tax
overpayment
refund
refunds. Yep.
which again would have to go to town meeting. We're learning. we're
Good.
gonna have enough
I'm glad.
meetings soon.
I
Now-
wouldn't feel comfortable
No.
if it didn't.
So Jude, on number 5,
Did I bring it? I don't have everything.
here I have mine, you can look at
Okay.
this. But we added number 5 because you wanted
Yes.
a second look
To
at.
verify.
And by the way, this is at the town attorney's right now for review
Okay.
anyway.
I,
We did have, Anita said that she does not feel comfortable being the second person because she's the one issuing the check.
right.
So we talked about the fact, could it be Tom who's in the office? And I will say that
Tom in the tax collector's office. I'm fine with that.
Or Melinda, because Melinda really does on the CFCs for the leased cars.
Okay.
She has to sign off on a document for those, but she could, and I tried to explain to her, I said, we're not asking you to actually redo the entire network,
No.
but to go through. And I will say that Suzanne and I sat down the other day to prepare some of the paperwork for the ones that we passed,
Right.
and we found 2 that I said, that doesn't add up.
Exactly. It's just another set
It
of
was.
eyes.
And so Suzanne said, I'm going to go back and do homework on those 2. So even though we approved them, they may not get approved because she found that there was another connection to another tax bill.
I'm not looking to make work for
No,
anyone,
no.
but,
I think it's a very good system.
I think there might be benefit to having it be someone out of the tax collector's office because if Suzanne isn't there, her assistant may be doing it. So,
Right.
it doesn't even have to be a tax person, just someone who's free that we can ask to verify.
Right, and that's what Suzanne and I did. We spent about an hour the other night just going through all the paperwork. She pulled up a history of
So
it.
you verified.
I verified this
No,
time
you
around.
don't have enough to do.
No, but I wanted to know. And
I think someone out of the tax collector's office, I don't care if it's Anita's assistant, but someone who has somewhat of a math brain that can add 2 and 2, or basic math.
So I was going to check with the attorneys, just because they'll know more, like, okay, you can't have this person and this person from the
Right,
town hall.
procedurally. Got it.
So as soon as Jack gets back to me on
But
this,
I did read the rest of it, and
and
yeah.
so I will
Yep.
send you his fill in the blanks. All right. Appointments, boards and commissions. We pulled off harbor management. I know you have a question on HR.
Thank you.
Is that under Selectmen General Discussion?
That's what I figured. Thank you.
So I do have an email from Terry. She just texted me and said she's available if we needed her. But basically, again, she said the applications in order for her alternate positions, there's now 2
Right?
available, Rebecca Griffin, Maya, and then Rich Shriver. Now, she said one of the things that she wanted Maya and Rebecca on, because they're going to work on this huge project for the HMC. They'll be writing a full description of all our access points and also pictures of each for their website.
I like that.
So, that was her recommendation.
I'm fine with the recommendation. I was not clear based on the order of each of the 2 lists in the 2 different emails.
Okay.
So if she's happy with that, that works for me.
All right. So what I need is a motion to appoint Rebecca Griffin and Maya Goody to 1-year alternate positions on harbor management.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Did you want spellings?
And expiration, 1/30.
1,
1 year, 1.
it'll be 1/31/2025. You're just flying by.
Maya Rudy, R-U-D-Y.
It's Goody, G-U-I-D-I. I know. All right. I have this for you. Hold on a minute. On a paper clip. No, I gave it to you at the beginning, right? The equal opportunity?
Yes, you did.
Okay. So again, as you know, this is part of our police accreditation
Right.
system. I took this from another small town. I sent it to Jack and said, hey, this is a very simple statement.
I like
think
the
it would be great. I would believe this would become a policy, not an ordinance. This would be a policy for town. Jack is again reading it over. If he approves it and doesn't tweak it, if he doesn't tweak it, I will let you know that this would be coming up before us in March.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you. So that'll go with Bob's last
Right.
March 4th. Okay.
And hopefully the tax refund will be as well.
Okay. Meeting?
All right. Selectmen, we do not need executive session, correct,
Oh,
Jim?
good.
We do not.
All right. And so Selectmen general discussion.
The only thing I have is I have questions on how Halls Road Improvement Commission is being handled in that I think there's 2 openings now that Deb Zarnecki has resigned.
They also had another, they have 2 openings.
Possibly 3, because there were 1 or 2 back in January when we asked for applications.
Supposedly there are going to be 2 openings. I also know that there is 1 person that at the last meeting said they were resigning. We have not received the written letter, and that
Just
is
an
why.
email?
No, I haven't even received the email yet.
Okay, I read an email where Deb Zarnecki resigned.
That was Deb. But
Okay, is there another one?
Yes.
Okay, so with that said,
She has people that are interested, and her meeting is not until March 14th. She will
Right.
have names to us by March 4th.
good, because as I understood it, this wasn't going to happen till later. My concern was we asked for applications for January 8th. It fell from our agenda with no explanation, and we didn't act on it, but they were continuing to have meetings.
Well, they did have a quorum up until the last meeting.
Right.
And I have instructed her that she cannot have another meeting until she...
Thank you.
Because she does
See,
not have...
those are things
Oh, no.
I needed to know.
So, nope, she has to have minority representation, she knows that, and she has reached out to...
She interviewed Mr. Folland.
She has interviewed 2.
Yep.
She has 2 other possible applications coming in.
So by
I
March
can check,
14th
because those are
meeting?
the only ones we have. We don't have any in the
Okay,
file.
so if we have 3 who are willing to meet the requirements and are willing to volunteer, I would expect that they'd be appointed.
On March 4th.
4th or?
Our meeting.
Yeah, I thought you said March 14th. That's
No,
right.
sorry, her meeting is March 14th, so she cannot meet on the 14th.
Until
unless she
there are
makes-
appointments.
Right.
Thank you. Those are questions that I had, as well as other people in town.
I keep very close tabs on minority representation.
No, it wasn't about that. It was about holding meetings without quorums
Right.
and why people were not.
So I do want you to realize that as a this is a Board of Selectmen Committee, HRIC.
Mm-hmm.
They do not make any final decisions. They have to
I
come before us
understand.
for everything. So anything that they motion basically is a motion to bring it to the board.
Cool. My other question for our discussion is, I know that letters go out to people who received approval for appointments to boards, commissions, committees. Do letters go out to the committee chair or to the person who's not been reappointed? Because there are people in town who were not told they were not. And I don't think that's good policy.
So I will tell you that a letter does go out to everyone who's been appointed and
Right,
email.
and I've seen that.
Okay.
And what the procedure is to come in and be sworn in, all those things.
Right, and we've tried to make that a little more concise for
Yep,
Vicki.
which is great.
But as far as most of, and I would say that out of our 34 chairs, I would say that 30 of them have read the minutes and have already
Understood.
contacted their people and whatever. So we have not put that, let's put it this way, we have not put that level in if that is what we need to do.
It's so few, I think a common courtesy would be to, at least to the board chair saying, we acknowledge that you recommended these 3 people, however, the selectmen voted on these 3.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't match their request, I think they should get, not have to go to the minutes. They were kind enough to take the time to send us email, letter, recommendation. We should respond and say, fortunately or unfortunately, these are the ones that were approved. And therefore, that person, the chair, would be in a position to reach out to the person who was not appointed and have a personal conversation or email with them instead of people hearing it through the grapevine before the minutes are posted.
Okay.
Okay?
Good. Now, I will tell you that tomorrow night at our FOIA meeting, that Katie, Vicki, Michelle, everybody's got to play in this game. But after Russell Blair does his 30-minute FOIA training, then there's 30 minutes of board and commission training. And those are some of the things that they're going to go over, like onboard, where to find out who your members are, et cetera, to check. And also just things that they want each one of them, like even payroll and accounts payable. There are chairs who just come in and just drop a bill down on Tracy's desk, and she's like, I don't even know who these people are.
Understood.
I mean, she said, you know, so we're just going to go over some of those things that help town hall run a little bit more efficiently.
Then there's a Teams workshop after those 2 sessions?
That's part, the Teams is just a little bit of it. Because we're really...
So I'm trying to keep our meetings realistic. It's going to be 7 to 8 or it's 7 to 9?
It's supposed to be 7 to 8.
Okay.
And there's a very short, the PowerPoint is literally, I think, about 8 slides. And each one of them is going to get up. So Russell sticks to 30 minutes. We don't have excessive questions. We should be able to run through the PowerPoint in 30 minutes. Now, Teams, we have started practicing with Teams. We have. And we used it for Board of Finance last week, our last time they met. So we are building that. We also now have capabilities in both of our upstairs. The mezzanine level, you can use, I believe you can use Teams or the phone, and you can use the phone or Teams, I think, in American Legion. I've got to check on that. One of the rooms is only phone, but we have now access to all of those. So that makes our meetings in town more transparent.
Well, it's also good for the people who are not, say Jim has an hour free, but he doesn't have 3 hours free. He can attend a meeting, or I can remotely. So I think it's great for the boards and commission members as well.
I think so too. And you can be away and join in if you want.
I will not be joining in on the 27th. Sorry, no, that Board of Finance, no.
But it's great if you're sick and you
No, it's wonderful. Or if you're contagious and you don't want to make other people.
And you know what? Last week I attended the WPCA, the night that we closed town hall. WPCA still met. I went on from home.
Yep. I saw that.
It's a
that was
wonderful
on.
tool. All right. Anything else? Jim? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
At 10:35.